Hello everyone, this is Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield here from Transport Evolved. I don't think I've ever experienced it this cold before in Portland, but it really is freezing. I mean, like, really cold. It's going to get down to minus 11 tonight, which, that's ridiculous. I've been to the Arctic and it's not felt this just bitter. It just feels bitter here. Maybe it's because obviously I'm not ready for it in this kind of weather, but I have to run a little errand to my local outdoor pursuit place to pick up some new grips for my boots because I lost one yesterday in the snow. So I'm going to go and do that, and I thought I'd give you a bit of an update on how things have been going in the last 24 hours with the cars, etc, etc. Yeah, let's do it. Well, I'd like to say that I'm heading out to an orchestra rehearsal tonight because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm an oboist by training and I play with the local amateur orchestra. But look, it's still really snowy everywhere. It's minus something, minus really cold. And so I'm not going out to the orchestra rehearsal, but I am going to go and get some more grips for my shoes because without them, well, I might slip and slide. But before I go, someone asked if the plugless power system worked with snow and ice and slush. Yes, it does. It's working very happily right now. Doesn't seem to be broken or anything. And yeah, it doesn't seem to have too much of a problem. So let's go in the car before I get too cold. So let us go. Put my foot on the brake for the plugless power system, which turns off the charging. That still takes a while to get used to. If you just put your foot on the button and then press the power, the car won't start, but it will do if you do that. Oh, it's cold. So bitterly cold. I'm actually going to put my gloves back on. I'm sorry. I know that car has been driven fairly recently because my wife came home from work early, but by golly, it's cold. Heated steering wheel on the Nissan Leaf is just the best thing. I think heated steering wheels should be included as standard on all EVs, as should all heating for front and rear, because it just makes such a big difference to how the car drives and how you feel about driving in the cold. My car's been in the garage for the past hour and a half, and even then the car's saying -2. So it's -2 Celsius. This is just slightly crazy. So there's one thing that I want to talk to you about today that's happened in the news, and one cool piece of news that I want to send your way regarding Transport Evolved and something that's going to be happening in a couple of weeks. So yay on both counts. So the first one is FCA, Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, has been caught cheating with the emission software for its diesel engine vehicles, says the EPA, and it's sent a notice of violation to Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, just like it did to Volkswagen nearly a year and a half, 2 years ago. So FCA will have to explain itself. Oh, it's a clear bit of road here. FCA will have to explain itself to the EPA and possibly other federal agencies. If it's found guilty, it's going to be facing upwards of $4.5 billion in fines. And it's also over 100,000 cars involved, just under 104,000 cars involved in total, which is going to be a huge amount of money for FCA to deal with. I mean, we're not talking small money here. And the allegations are that FCA did the same thing that Volkswagen did, which is basically put in a software algorithm into the car's control module that detected when the car was on a rolling road or a dynamometer, and that in turn made the car produce a certain level of emissions when it was on a rolling road, and then when it was being driven in regular mode, produce higher emissions. Now, the irony of this is it's on the 3.0 litre eco engine, V6 eco engine from Fiat Chrysler. not EcoBoost, it's Eco something, and I can't remember because I'm concentrating on driving. And it's essentially the same thing that happened with Volkswagen. Now, I can tell you as someone who works covering the automotive industry, there are plenty of people who believe that other automakers, and know that other automakers are doing exactly the same thing with their diesel engine vehicles. Diesel engine vehicles are good at doing a lot of things. They're very torquey. They can run in the kind of environments that petrol engines couldn't run in without requiring extra waterproofing, etc., etc. But they do produce lots of nitrogen oxide emissions. And the reality here is that diesel engines are on their way out. Read several articles this week saying that electric vehicles will kill the diesel engine. There is no question about it. Diesel engines will be killed by the electric vehicle. But the irony of all of this, and I want to touch on this slightly, is that Sergio Marchionne, who is the CEO of... Oh, there's my neighbour with his Volkswagen e-Golf. Hello, neighbour. He's got his car covered in snow. He watches this, so he might see himself later. Hello, neighbour. The irony of all of this is that Sergio Marchionne has moaned for such a long time that electric cars are losing Fiat Chrysler money. And every Fiat 500e that Fiat Chrysler makes, the company is losing money on. We had those cars that were put out on lease deals, 2-year leases, that stupid lease deals that Fiat Chrysler did just so that they could meet the compliance, the ZEV mandate compliance in certain states, like California and Oregon. Cars were sold at a loss, and FCA moaned about it a lot. But hang on. If FCA... Oh, that's really slippery. If FCA is actually selling these cars off at a really big loss, and it's moaning about it, then what of all these diesel engine vehicles that it's allegedly cheated and have vehicles that are producing way too much nitrogen oxide emissions that's going to cost it 4.4 billion? There is no way that I can see FCA having to have spent 4.4 billion on electric vehicle technology and losing it in the same way that it's going to with these cars, because it's not just the fines. If it's found guilty, please excuse me while I get onto the really slippery ice rink that is the local roads. Bop, 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 bop. If FCA is found guilty and it has to do the same thing that Volkswagen did, in other words, take the vehicles back, crush them, and pay the owners an out-of-court settlement. And we're talking about vehicles, we're talking about 2 vehicles in particular. The Jeep Grand Cherokee from 2014 through to 2016, and also the Dodge Ram 1500 with a 3-litre diesel engine from 2014 to 2016. If FCA has to take those 2 vehicles back and do the same thing that Volkswagen did, it's going to lose out big. Big. Just like Volkswagen, it's going to be in financial trouble for cheating, while all the time saying, oh, electric vehicles are too expensive to make. Well, I'm sorry, guys, automotive industry in general. If I don't think developing electric vehicles would have cost you as much as these fines are going to cost you now, because you've been found out, if you did in fact break the law. I mean, it's not determined yet, but that's certainly, the evidence is pointing to that. So I'd like to know what you think in the comments below, because I there's no way I can see that actually being a good thing for the company. The other thing I want to talk to you about, I'm going to talk to you about in a little bit, because I've just pulled into the parking lot here at REI, and it's really stupidly ice rinky, so I'm going to concentrate on driving. This is slick as anything, and just to someone who said yesterday they thought I was saying you don't need chains. You are quite right, you do need chains if you live somewhere where snow tyres and winter tyres are not going to cut it. Winter tyres are really for decent weather in the winter, not big nasty storms. Obviously be sensible. If you need studded tyres, if you live in certain places, you will need studded tyres. If you live in other places, you will need chains as well. Where I live in downtown PDX, or rather Metropolitan PDX, these are okay, and if I don't think my car is going to stand it, then I won't drive in it. It's pretty simple. Shoe grips for gripping things. I know they're around here somewhere. Winter shoe snow grip things. This doesn't look good, actually. I think they might be out of them. This is not good. If they're out of them, then I guess I just wander around with one snow shoe instead of two. Yeah, the micro spikes are gone. Everything. Even the yak tracks. This is what happens when we have snow in Portland. They're all gone. They're sold out completely. None. Oh, I'm sad now. Excuse me. I'm guessing you're out of yak tracks completely. Yes. I've lost one. I've got one yak track. So I've got one really nice, solid foot, and then the other one's just doing slidey things. Yeah, sorry. Do you know when you're going to get any more in?
I don't. I looked earlier. It says that we are
like next week when it's like 10 degrees. Okay, no worries. Thank you anyway. Stay safe. No yak tracks. No yak tracks for me. The yak tracks have all yacked and tracked. Okay. So, it's really cold. Like, super cold. It's now saying, what? -5, and it's not even 5 p.m. yet. Yes! This kind of temperature is unheard of in the Pacific Northwest, certainly in the greater Portland area. If you live up in the mountains, you'd be laughing at me right now. But this is kind of crazy temperatures. Now, someone's got an ice scraper. They've left an ice scraper on the tailgate of their car, which is kind of bizarre. It's kind of slightly crazy. So no yak tracks for me. They're all sold out. I did think they might be. A little bit of wheel spin there. Whoops. So I guess I'm just going to have to walk really carefully with one yak track and hope that I don't slip. It may or may not be successful. We'll have to see. So back home, and I can tell you about the second piece of good news from the Transport Evolved thing. Will actually come in a second, and I've forgotten. There's an update on my Nissan Leaf and the telematics upgrade. As those who watched Tuesday's update will know, we had a telematics upgrade done for Carwings so that we can now talk to our car again, because Nissan didn't forward think when it designed the Leaf, and it used a 2G modem in the car, which was already on its way out when they made the car. So they did a $199 upgrade if you've got a 2014 or older car. And I want to be able to do remote heating and remote state of charge and tie it in with like Amazon Echo and all of that fun stuff. So I decided to go for the upgrade. Turns out I had an airbag recall on the car as well, so I've done that. And at the time, the garage said, you have probably got 48 hours to wait before the telematics unit comes online. I'm just coming up to these lights. Hope I stop, because it really is slick as anything. I'm going to go to Carwings. We'll see if it's now updating. This morning, it was giving me an error and saying, no, I'm not going to connect to the telematics system. I haven't checked it with the app yet to see if that works. And this is normally a right on red state, but I'm actually thinking I'm not going to go right on red here. I'm going to wait until everyone's gone and then I'll go, which is what I'm doing now. Oh, it says updating stations. So, yay! Telematics is back online. Nice job, Nissan. Our Leaf is now working with the telematics system. So, yay! Good job. Proper job. That now means that we can preheat, pre-cool the car, check on the status of charging, etc., etc. again. So that's a good sort of little update there. So the second thing I was going to really tell you was that I got an invite today to go and be on the media test drive for the Chevrolet Bolt EV, which is happening in a couple of weeks' time. I'll be heading up to California, or down to California because I live in Oregon. Heading down to California, I will be putting the Chevrolet Bolt EV through its paces. They've told us that, you know, we're going to have about 160, 170 miles of driving. It won't be enough to obviously do a full 200-mile range test, but it should give me a good idea of what the car is capable of and what we can expect. I know some of you already have a Chevrolet Bolt EV. I know a couple of Transport Evolved supporters have already got theirs, so that we good to put it through its paces and see how that car fares when compared to other vehicles like the Tesla Model S, etc, etc, etc. So stay peeled for that. I am going to concentrate on driving now because the roads here are just hella slippery. Really slippery. I mean, crazy slippery. Like, you might want to have studded tyres, crazy slippery. So I'm going to go and concentrate on driving. Until I talk to you next week, have a great week and keep evolving. I'll be back tomorrow with a TEN. Yay! Bye!